Welcome to Connection Privée. I'm Clemence de Crecy, CEO of PR agency Clementine Communication. Welcome today. I am delighted to welcome yet another guest in my studio, the one and only Emma Sayle. Emma is the founder and CEO of We Are KK brands, which include Killing Kittens, Safe Date, Sisters, and The Sisterhood. Emma, welcome. And here we are, live with Emma Sayle. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I've got 3 children all back at school, so I'm in a really happy place right now.
I'm clapping. Congratulations. I don't know how you manage that. I've just got one and only 1 or 2 days a week. It's crazy, but
you just got to take it. You've got to take every minute you can.
And definitely trying. I think I've got about 45 minutes before one of them walk into my studio. So let's get cracking. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. I know we've met each other many years ago, and you're someone I've always looked at as a true business leader. You've done really well in your career. Can you just tell us a little bit more, for those who don't know you yet, about yourself, and how did you get to where you are now? Yeah, exactly. How long do we have?
So basically, business-wise, I founded a business called Killing Kittens, which explores women's sexuality and get to basically give women a safe space to explore their sexuality online and offline. And founded that 15 years ago. I just felt it was a very patriarchal world, and I was sort of just a really pissed off 24-year-old girl, party girl, who was just out and about and just not liking the real male dominated just world of just being out and socializing, and at the same time had some bad sort of sexual harassment issues working in financial PR, and grew up in the Middle East. So there was this kind of sort of anger burning in me about why were women treated differently to men, and why couldn't we were told we could do whatever we wanted and be the same, but it's sort of the reality wasn't there. So founded that business, and at the core of that was always community, and also at the same time I love my sport and founded a big group called the Sisterhood, which again it's a kind of similar, but it's sort of women being able to do crazy sports races. And it was the same. It was sort of a drunk bet with a group of guys who were giving it the big large testosterone chat about how they were the brotherhood, and they wanted to go across the English Channel. And I said, right, sod it, I'm going to launch the Sisterhood and we'll race you across. And so the Sisterhood has become this big group of girls, and actually we have guys included in it as well, and we did loads of different adventure races all over the world and raised loads of money for different charities. So sort of I've had Killing Kittens, I've had that going, the yin to my yang, but both actually very similar, with that community offline, supporting each other, and giving women and girls that confidence to go out there and be whoever they want to be, and they can do what men do. And then last year we launched a business called Sister, which is an online platform, again on and offline, professional network for women, so professional women across all industries. Wanted it to be kind of all inclusive and not just a specific industry, which a lot of the women's like professional networking groups are specifically for different set industries. So
yes,
it was again to be all inclusive, and again that big community sort of feel, and with everyone helping each other out, and having events every month on that
that's
front.
amazing.
So yeah, so in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do, and all of them sound very different business wise and setup wise, but actually the core and the backbone of everything that I've always done has just been a big team and a big helping each other out as women.
So well, yeah. you are definitely, and it's an amazing transition to what this podcast is all about, is that human connection. You've built so many businesses, trusting people, working with a team, group of friends, which have been with you since the beginning, and I'm still with you now. I know your brother, I've met your sister, but I know how proud, and everybody is sort of behind you and supporting you along the way. So it's a true testimony of what the real human connection and the power of human connection. So how did you cope actually during the confinement? I know at the moment I don't want to focus too much on that because we have to leave and we have to go through the other side. I'm hoping you share the same point of view. But how have you coped during that time with your team? And how did you take all of your events? Did you say online? And how does that work?
Do you know what? I was laughing with a friend this week actually, and I said I've always worked better in chaos. And and I've always worked better in chaos and under serious pressure. And whether that was doing my dissertation and stuff at university, when I'd leave it till the last minute, the night before, and then be up all night under pressure, and having to make decisions really fast. And when everything's really chaotic around me, is when I actually go into my calmest state, and my brain goes into the calmest state. And actually, it's weird, kind of as soon as this hit, and we saw it because we had a big event out in Venice at that last weekend of the carnival when it hit Venice, and Venice shut down. We were out there, so we flew back on that Monday, and it had shut down on the Sunday. And then 2 weeks later, I was in New York. Mum calls me the super spreader. Then I was in New York.
I was about to say,
I know. I must get tested. So then I was in New York the first week of March, and we had an event there, and you could see it all happening. And I remember coming back from Venice, and we said, this is literally gonna go, and it's gonna snowball really, really fast, and we have to really get our tech online side, going 1,000 miles per hour. Because we'd been building a new platform and a chat app for the last 2 years, and our plan was to basically take this is the Killing Kittens side of the business, to basically being 80% online digital and 20% being the offline events, with from where we were, which was sort of 50-50. Right. So it's always been the plan, and we were moving on it. We just suddenly the whole team had to pivot into, that's what we're doing. There is no offline anymore. So all the offline events people and the community managers and stuff, suddenly it was all online. And actually, because we have this huge online community side of KK, and even every offline event we do has a big online chat thing going on for like 3-4 days before an event. You join the pre-party chat groups. There's a big digital kind of virtual world that's existed. So it was sort of, well, we've got all that, that's kind of, we're 90% there really on the virtual events. We just need to turn the actual event into a virtual one, which obviously, when you're dealing with sex, it kind of, you're never going to replicate that.
You might have to
in the digital world. So it's sort of actually, if you can have all the chat there, and that you still have that human connection, which is what makes KK really. It's not really the sex side. That's sort of, I always say that's the byproduct. It's that belonging and those connections.
So is it more the chats? Is it just the conversation, the flirting? Is that what has picked up on your community?
Yeah. So basically, within the first week, our messaging had gone up 300%.
Wow.
But we were kind of starting to do kind of workshops and more of the education stuff online anyway. So then it was a case of, well, everything's going to be online. And rather than me hosting panel debates and charging around different cities and stuff, and I was getting to a point where I was like, this is too much. And I actually saw a therapist I hadn't seen for like 15 years and said, I just feel like this hamster on this hamster wheel, and it's getting faster and faster and faster, and I can't get off it. And I don't know what, I think I've done 6 flights in 6 weeks, and a bit like you, and the 3 kids, and it was just too much. And so the first week of lockdown, I actually messaged him going, when I said I wanted to slow down, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
No, not quite.
And he said, to be honest, it was the only way of stopping you. So it was quite straightforward to us to move into and we have a very, very strong tech digital team. Most of the staff are digital based. And our CEO is a complete tech ninja.
Okay. So it didn't change much for you and your team. It's just mainly for your events and your company. But for you and your team, you've always been here and there, and it doesn't change much. You've got people throughout the world now working for you. You've got sort of division in New York, in Dubai. You've got a few people everywhere.
Sydney. Yeah. So we've been doing events on Sydney time zone and New York time zone. So our events team here have been on the espresso martinis to stay up till 3 a.m. to go live with New York.
Are you still following most of your events?
What I'm doing is hosting like 3 Insta live chats a week,
Right.
like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's like 2 sister ones and 1 KK one, and then I'm not involved in all the rest. I'll be in some Zoom meetings about stuff, but we've got a great team, and I trust them. So I've had a couple of nights actually on a Friday where I've been in a Zoom chat myself having some quiz night with friends or something, and then at 10 o'clock when it finishes and KK starts, I've said to my hubby, come on, let's go into the KK party. So we've had a few drunk like joinings on the sly.
This is so good. And I have to say, I'm just going to share one of the quotes you put on your social media recently, which cracked me up. I read in the middle of the night as I couldn't sleep, and during the Middle Ages, they celebrated the end of the plague with wine and orgies. Does anyone know if they have anything like that planned when this one ends? And I have to say, I laughed my head off thinking, oh, this is perfect.
It's true though, that's the thing. You look back through like centuries and centuries of disease and plague, and what happens as soon as everyone's allowed out, the level of sex goes up. So when people say, oh, you're going to be, people aren't going to want to have it when we're out of this and out of lockdown and socially distance, I'm like, bollocks.
Yeah, that is an interesting concept. I've seen my, not that it is a sex talk now, but I've seen my husband more than I've ever seen him in years. I spent 3 months every day with him.
Exactly. I'm like that. I'm ready. I worked out this is the longest time I've ever stayed in one place and slept in the same bed since I was 7. Because I went to boarding school. So I was like, honestly, that's pretty impressive for a 42-year-old.
Oh, that's good math. That is brilliant. I haven't calculated, but for me, exactly the same. I haven't been to boarding school, but trust me, I don't think I've spent that long with anyone in my life.
Yeah.
24/7, literally 24/7. What a change. But it has taught us to slow down a bit. I don't think we will for very long. I think things will go back to normal. Give us 6 months and we'll have completely forgotten what we went through. But I think what will stay is the power of people who've been here to support, to help. All these beautiful contact and network. And it's amazing because you have created so many lovely communities. You're very much into sort of women communities, but I know there's lots of men out there who need help, and we need that power of connection. And it's not all being big boys and etc. It's actually just to say I need help and raise your hands, and you're there. I love the charity that you got involved as well, the Heat Against Heat campaign. I thought it was genius. I've been thinking about all of these guys, and unfortunately, I know a few people who've been in this really sad circumstances over the past few weeks. So when you launched this campaign, I went behind straight away, and I thought, my gosh, people need to make noise. People need to make noise, absolutely, and help out. So I love all the campaigns. You're very touching and very, you can tell there's lots of meanings behind every campaign. So it means a lot, I think, for lots of people.
Thanks.
Which is good. No, it's true though. So lots of events online. How do you cope? So obviously you are a very busy person. What's your sort of, how do you, mindfulness is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but how do you keep sane in the middle of all this?
Do you know what? I do try and do mindfulness, although my mind, I can only manage about 5 minutes of it because my mind just goes into to-do lists and stuff. But I think even though I run around and I might be on an aeroplane and I might end up in different cities, I am quite a creature of habit. And we live on the river, and I like outdoors, and I like walking, and I like listening to some podcasts, and so and I exercise loads, and I swim loads, and so it kind of that I have things that I have done. It's like I love Pilates. I've done I've been doing that for like 15 odd years, and it's I don't buy handbags and designer stuff, and my thing, my guilty pleasure has always been Pilates.
Nice.
And
that's why that's why you look fit. That's how you look. Yeah, it's amazing. It's good.
So it's sort of I have things, and I have what I eat, and I like my latte first thing, and I like my glass of wine in the evening, and it's just it's just sort of having a kind of a bit of a routine that just wherever I am that's how I operate. So it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
that, and also
That,
having a old school to-do list. I don't do a to-do list on my phone. I've got no interest. Or on my computer, I have a big A4 diary, and
yeah.
I write things down in there at the beginning of every week. And as I go through it, I cross it out, and every day I'll add to it. And anything I don't do that week will carry over to, and I just write it. And I think that
Yes.
act of writing it out and actually physically drawing a line through stuff, I think
Yeah.
psychologically, and I've read actually recently, it is really good for you. It's a
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
so I'm not a digital person. I use the digital world as a tool because you need to. And my, sister business and KK business are very tech digital, but I'm a
Yeah.
really offline person, and I need that human connection. And I'm always the one in the office saying, just pick up the phone. People
Yeah.
say, well, I emailed them, they haven't got back to me. Well, that was 2 weeks ago. Just pick up the
Yeah.
phone. I'm always pushing people to go out and go to networking events or go to events to, meet people and learn.
Very good.
Yeah.
So how many events? It's so good you sort of talk about that as well. So how many events do you tend on a normal time? Do you tend to go out? Because I guess you need to talk about your business to a lot of people so they get to know you and then they sign up and grow the communities that you're building. So how many events do you tend to go to, or do you push your team to go on your behalf? What's the
It's a
strategy there on
mixture.
networking?
In the I will push. I push the team to go, and that's more for them to go out and find, educators and experts that we can use in our events and stuff. But me personally,
Okay.
I probably, because also, I've got 3 littlies and I live out just outside London, so I don't want to tear the arse out of it. But I will probably be out 2 evenings a week. But what I try and do, it's probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the nights I will be out in town at functions. And that's whether I've been invited to something or whether I just, will go out or see friends or go to new places. And or whether it's something we're hosting, one of our panel debates or something. So those tend to be the nights. And then actually I try and be at home Friday to Monday. So I work from home on a Friday and a Monday, and it kind of gives me, it's just sort of, that's my rock. That's where I
Yes.
come back to. Home is where I come back to. And I have never been one of those people actually who has big parties in my home, even in my 20s. It was always my sort of sanctuary to come back and just
Okay.
be completely still. And I could easily go 2 days without seeing anyone or speaking to anyone. It's
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of a real yin and yang.
yeah. No, absolutely. And when you go out, so in central London or throughout, if you, because I know you travel a lot, you said New York and you mentioned a few other places. What sort of networking do you attend? Do you have any good memories of great events which have been organized and you thought, yes, that was worth it. I met quite a few people. And what are the events you would recommend attending and those where you think, actually, don't bother?
Do you know what? It's funny, in my 20s, and like when I was first starting out, there were, the whole kind of digital social media world didn't really exist. So it was, even growing a business was the only way you could do it was really to be out hustling. And
Yes.
I just remember in my 20s out hustling and going to these kind of business networking events they were so much older than me, and they were so male, and I just blagged my way into some, or I'd meet someone, and it might be sort of, I'd get chatting to a couple of guys who might be in their 40s or 50s, and they'd say about an event and an industry one. I remember being out and about in the sports world quite a lot, and I got into this. I met one of the founders of the 6 p.m. club, which is still going, and it's a big, directors in sport and entertainment industries. And I remember going, and they sort of said, come along, because at the time I was sort of figuring out jobs and stuff, and they said you might be able to meet people. And I met some really interesting people who I'm still really good friends with now, but these are guys in their 60s now. And
Very
but
good.
I love people, and I love energies, and I just love where I've learned. And people often say, did you have a mentor? And I say, I didn't have one, I had loads, because I would just hang around and want to spend more time with people who just oozed this confidence and success and positivity. And it was that I wanted to learn how they operated and watch how they dealt with people,
Yes.
and just listen. And that was
Yeah.
that was how I learned, and that's how I networked. And it's, you know, even now I love new people, and the ones I will kind of magnetically be drawn to are the ones who just radiate there's this positivity to them, and this
Yes.
go-getting drive, and just grit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not definitely. I was speaking to quite a few guests over the past few weeks on this podcast, and it sounds easy for people like yourself or myself. I don't know. I think it's a character. Either it's quite natural, isn't it? But it's not actually given. It's not easy for everyone. And I have had some guests saying, I'd rather do all my networking on my social media and not go out because I feel really shy. I don't want to look at people. I feel a bit awkward to look at people I don't know in the eye. So it's also interesting to say, but try to be natural, try to be yourself, and perhaps force yourself to go out a little, because the more you practice, it's like everything, practice makes it better, isn't it? So the more events you attend, the more people you talk to, the more natural you'll feel. But I perfectly understand that some people take the networking completely online now and just remain just on their Instagram, and they hide behind an Instagram page. But for some it seems to be working. How is it going for you, social media?
It's good. But again, it is that, and I know so many people, and especially, over half our team probably would find it, that whole face-to-face networking, terrifying and really awkward. And I think especially
Yes,
the
exactly, it's a
younger
generation.
generation
I
is,
agree.
they are so used to doing everything on the digital world and not having that face-to-face, that actually then just not used to having that human interaction of having to deal with people face to face. And it's a shame because it's hiding. There's a lot of not taking responsibility that goes with that they can hide behind tech, and they don't have to take responsibility. And it just, and I think when you're forced to, when you are face to face in these, you can't hide, and
Yes.
you can't just shut
Yeah.
down your computer or turn your phone off or not reply to a message, because you're face to face having these conversations then and there. And I think more of it should happen. And actually, as bosses, being older and having lived through that time when that's what you had to do, and
Yeah.
knowing how good it is for you, it actually, I think we should be responsible for actually trying to help them have that
That's such a
experience.
good idea. No, it's I yeah, what a mission.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on that. I could not agree more. I, as you know, obviously I run a PR agency, and we do lots of lifestyle and luxury. The idea for me when we organize events is always to try to create an experience for people. I went to a magazine 10 years anniversary of a magazine just before the confinement, and they invited an author to read a passage of his book, and at the end it was lots of questions and answer from the public. It was completely unprompted. No one knew that he was a guest coming and what he was doing, but he made the event. It was a birthday celebration over a glass of champagne, which I went there. It was the other side of the city, and I went there on a Friday night, really dragging my feet, thinking I need to network, I need to meet some people. And actually, I spent about 4 hours there because I could not leave. I met, because of the atmosphere and the extra little bit of je ne sais quoi that the organizer put together. And I really think, exactly, we should really try to brainstorm and do more and more fun events. Because trust me, in London, there's still a lot of very dull, formal events where you go with a badge and you have to introduce yourself in 30 seconds. So I hope things could improve after this confinement and be less daunting and more fun and interactive. I'm really hoping we can go towards this route.
Yeah, and more real. That's the thing. I think
More
that
real,
it's
yeah.
that being real. And I know, like, from doing our sister panels every month with different industries, and they've been really open and really successful women, but the discussion, none of it's been sort of money and that kind of side of things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
been
yeah.
the raw bits and the failures and how you get over them, and that vulnerability. And people, and I think the younger, when you learn things, people, you want to see the real rawness of those people,
Yes.
and the failures and how they got through it. Because when a lot of the time you get to know of someone when they've become a really successful person, and that's great,
That's
and you
true.
can admire them, but what I want to know is how they got there, and the really shitty things that happened to them
Oh,
in the
Emma,
process.
Emma, you just reminded me on how you started, how we met. Do you remember this office? So for the story, everyone, we shared, Emma and I, an office. We had some friends in common, the boys from the Renaissance Club, which I have lost touch, and I'd love to meet these guys again, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm still good friends with them.
That's so I follow it. Yeah, we're on social, but again, no face to face, which is probably my fault. But yeah, anyway, I remember forever. I was setting up my PR agency, and one day they arrived and said, "Well, Clem, we have a friend. She's setting a sex club, and she's joining us at the office, and she's starting tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And me being super conservative at 25 years old, setting up my own PR luxury business, like, "Oh my gosh, there's a girl setting a sex club, and she's going to be sharing my office." I would remember that day forever. And I think when you arrive at the office, looking all glam, etc. I thought, oh my gosh, she's cool as well. Okay, that's and us working in that grubby office, if you remember, in Shepherd's Bush.
Which is now White City, isn't it?
It's now White City has been put down. Exactly. So yes, it's good to remind everyone, how we all started and how little we were when we were starting our businesses and what we've become. So you're absolutely right. There's a lots of lovely story on the way, and that human connection and keeping in touch with people, and don't hesitate to pick up a phone like we're doing now, just to ask for help or ask for advice. I think it's crucial. So definitely a key message out of this podcast as well. But thank you, Emma. On that last note, obviously for people, youngsters, you've given a lot of beautiful tips. But do you have any last piece of advice? If you had one piece of advice on networking that you would like to share before we close this episode?
I think just to keep an open mind, because you do not know what anyone out there is going through and whether they've had a bad day. And sometimes you will walk into a thing and someone will look really unfriendly, and I call it, proper resting bitch face. And actually, and you can completely palm them off and go, right, I'm not going to speak to them. And often you don't, the minute, if you kill people with kindness and smile, and just go and just try and just go through that resting bitch face, because most of them actually will crumble. And a lot of the time that resting bitch face hides a really nervous person who's feeling really socially awkward, and that's why they're looking like that. So I always say, just don't take that first impression as the given. And speak to everyone. I speak to people in lifts and stuff, because you just don't know who anyone is and who you're going to meet through those people. So you might think someone's an arse, but you don't know who that arse is friends with and connected with that could help you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I could not agree more. Well, that's really, really wise and good advice. So for everyone who wants to get in touch directly with you, can they contact you on your social media? What's your best handle for everybody to follow you?
I'm just EMSAYLE Sayle 333, I think, at on Instagram. I think I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah. Or just through the Killing Kittens or sister one.
Good. They'll find you. Otherwise, they can go through me, and I'll put them in touch with yourself for any advice or business tips that you may want to share further with them. Thank you, Ems. This is such a pleasure to speak with you. I really appreciate it. I know you're hugely busy as well with your little one. They are so cute, by the way. So carry on posting pictures.
Your boys are as well.
They're grown up now. The baby stage is gone, but going so fast. But yeah, no, thank you very much, and I'm sure I'll see you again very soon.
See you later.
See you soon. Ciao, ciao. Thank you so much for listening to Connection Privée, a podcast produced by Clementine Communication PR Agency. This episode was mixed and edited by Chris Osborne. For more insightful interviews about networking and the power of human connection, make sure to subscribe to Connection Privée on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And if you like what you hear, please leave a review in the Apple Podcast Store or tell a friend about us. I'm your host, Clemence de Crecy, and I hope to see you again soon. À bientôt!